Alrighty, everyone, we're going to go ahead and get started. So, good, it's afternoon, not evening, everyone. Good evening, nope, afternoon, everyone. My name is Ryan Romero, and I'll be the host MC for this. You may recognize the jacket. I bring it out for only a special occasions like this one. So, welcome, everyone, to the first ever collaborative debate. The collaboration is going to happen between the Scarlet Gray Free Press, the University Speaks, and the CSUN Student Government. So I actually was up here about 5 years ago, so I get it. We all are going through. I was vice president, so best of luck to everyone. We have a great debate for everyone. It is being live streamed, and I'm being told to move forward for the live stream. So hello to the live stream, to the audience that is also joining us live in studio. Thank you as well. So when you see the applause, make sure to applause. Okay. So we're going to have 2 tickets for our debate today. They are going to be Unity and Starting Line. So let's give a round of applause to all the candidates, everyone. Yay. It takes a lot of courage to be on the stage, especially in this hot seat, if you will. So best of luck to everyone. A few rules of the program. Your microphones, please don't turn them off. They are set. If you turn them off, please don't. So please make sure to leave them on. For the audience, feel free to encourage the candidates, but also do realize we do have to keep the program going, and we are live in all capacities. So keep that in mind, everyone. Good? Okay. A few other things. The other stars of the program are our 2 moderators right in front of you. You all have nice lighting right now, so beautiful, well done. So our moderators for today's program is going to be Jimmy from Scarlet and Gray, and then Mia from University Speaks. So they are the game masters of this program. They're in full control of the activities. And they're going to explain the rules of debate for the candidates and also how everyone's going to go. So with that, I think I'm good. So I'm going to pass it on to you all. Happy Hunger Games, everyone. Enjoy.
So how are we doing, everybody? Sweet. So the way we're going to operate this is each ticket is going to get 2 minutes to respond to a question, right? And we're going to give you 4 rebuttals per ticket. Each rebuttal is 1 minute long. You could run out of rebuttals in the first question if you have 4 rebuttals that you want to give out, but save them wisely. Audience, please don't boo. Clap if you want to. And I think we'll get started. Yeah.
And just a reminder, it's going to be 1 person per ticket per question. So it's 1, 1, 1. So very simple. Okay? But you get 2 minutes. So 1, 1, 2. Okay? No one laughed. It's fine. So we're going to get started with the first question, and we're going to start with starting line. Okay? So starting line. Why are you running in this election?
I'll go ahead and take that.
Okay.
one. Hi, everybody. My name is Nadia, and I'm the Senate presidential candidate for Starting Line. I know for sure that the decision to run was not easy for the 3 of us. We thought about it for a long time. We considered a lot of our experience in CSUN and things that we set out to do. We didn't want to just make empty promises and think of things that we could do in our positions currently. We wanted to expand on those ideas. So, we're all involved in a lot of different capacities, as well as having different positions in CSUN, Zach and I as legislative experience and Ray as executive experience, and we want to combine those inside of CSUN and outside of CSUN to make the best experience we can through different aspects of the CSUN budget that we can allocate to students, and just do the most we can with our position and our experience. Thank you.
Unity?
Okay, so my name is Isaac Hernandez. I'm very intrigued by this entire process. When I ran the Econ Club, we would host monthly mixers, and we would invite a lot of alumni out. And the first comment that I got from an alumni was, nothing has changed on campus. And keep in mind, they graduated about 15 years ago. So it's very, very, very concerning to me to even hear that they themselves see the status quo to be upheld here on campus. And it was disturbing to me because through my organization, through the Economics Club, I could only make so much change within that organization. And hearing that comment from alumni, it kind of shocked me a little bit. But it woke me up in a way that just provided me more motivation to try and make change at a larger scope. And that is why I decided to run.
Thank you. So question number 2, we'll start with Unity. Why does your campaign think student government is important?
So, kind of touching on this, sorry, I kind of lost my voice a little bit this weekend, but one of the biggest things that we have kind of done during this entire process is go out and talk to students and talk to RSOs, and ask the very first question that we ask them is, number 1, do you know what CSUN is? And number 2, do you know that there's elections going on? About 80% of those students say no, right? And that, I think, really highlights the importance of why we're trying to engage the student body as far as the importance of CSUN, given that CSUN funding comes straight out of their tuition, right? Out of every single credit, we charge for those students to provide scholarships and grants through CSUN, to provide different initiatives, and to also fund RSOs. And given that 80% of these students that we talk to don't know this, that really highlights how important it is for them, number 1, to know about CSUN, but number 2, know where their money is coming from. And at the same time, also know where their tuition is going forward. And given how important this role is, not just our executive positions, but CSUN in general, in speaking up to the university at large and the Nevada Board of Regents, CSUN has a very large voice in our community.
Starting line.
Cool. So one thing that I think is pretty foundationally important with CSUN, beyond the budget that we manage, which for those of you that don't know is $1.2 million every year, which is an exorbitant amount of money when you think about it, given that it's only $1.97 per credit per student. But we're able to give out hundreds of thousands of dollars of scholarships, sponsorships to departments on campus, and even RSO funding, which I think is integral in building the foundation to successful leaders on campus. But beyond that foundation of just supplying money and managing where that money goes, I think that the virtue of CSUN is really important. Here at CSUN, not only do we allow young student leaders and even non-traditional student leaders a voice at the table to directly talk with not only administration, but also with the Nevada system of higher education, we provide opportunities for all students, again, if CSUN is used properly, to really engage in the system and make a change. One thing that I think has really pushed me to believe in CSUN more than I ever have is the fact that in the United States currently, I know this is a little bit of expanding out beyond CSUN, but in the United States currently, our sitting congressional representatives are over 50 years old, and that's the mean age. And the Senate is even older, it's about 62 years old. But the average American is only about 35. So you can clearly see there's a deficit there between who's being represented and the age of those representatives, because clearly someone that's 65 might not have the same interests as me or Ray or Nadia or Isaac as Diana. Cool. And I think that what's really important here at CSUN is that we give young people a stage to really present themselves as the future leaders and make a change in the community that I think that ultimately they really want to see, but there are a lot of barriers that don't let them.
Okay, we're going to go on to the next question. We're going to start with starting line. In the primary election, only 836 students voted. This only represents roughly 2% of UNLV's population. How are you going to change this so more students will be represented?
That's a really good question, and that was something that we actually thought about the second we saw the primary results. If you actually looked at it, between starting line and For Your Future, which was the previous executive elections ticket, there was only a difference of 9 votes. So that means that all 3 tickets out of the students who voted were very competent, had great ideas, and that's good. But like you said, 2%, that's that's not enough. That's okay, but it's not enough. One of the things that we've started to take charge of is that we've spoken to a lot of RSOs, but we've also just spoken to classes. We've spoken to our friends who have no affiliation with anything outside of going to school and going to work. And through those experiences and those conversations, we were able to gauge what's going to actually get students to vote. One of the things we came about a lot was that parking vouchers. Whether you're an RSO and you're on campus all the time or you're here for one class, parking is one of the biggest things that every student faces. So through that, we were able to just discussion, just talking to people that we know, friend of friends, and just out in the community. Oh, you go to UNLV? Cool. Let's just talk about this. It was actually really insightful to us and also to other students who didn't really know what CSUN was and didn't really care about voting. And now we're like, hey, I might consider voting. So kind of going through that way, and also just getting out as much outreach as we can in any way we can.
It's a great question. From everyone else's perspective, they have viewed our ticket to be an outsider ticket. But we are familiar with CSUN. We've been in CSUN before. We've just not been in there the amount of time that our opponents have been. But based on our campaign, and it all comes down to context, during our campaign, we led a grassroots effort. Thanks to AOC for giving us that idea. But we led a grassroots effort. We put people on the floor. We talked to as many students as many students as we could. On voting day, we would go inside buildings. We would walk all over campus, dark side, in front of the parking garages, just catching random students at all times. And the first question that we would ask them is, did you know there are elections going on? And about 2 students that entire day said they already knew there was an election going on and they already voted. Everyone else, I couldn't even give you a number of how many other students we did talk to, but everyone said they were completely unaware of it. So again, context does matter. From a campaign's perspective, from our perspective, we can only do so much outside of the office. While in the office, we want to advocate, we want to promote, and we want to tell department chairs, we want to tell deans of colleges to market civic engagement as much as possible. Yes, it matters at the local, the state, the county, the federal level, but it all has to start somewhere. And I mentioned it to Diana earlier today in recent weeks. Depending on who is voting,
30 seconds.
Depending on who is voting, students are more likely to vote in any other election if they participate in student government elections. It all starts somewhere, and we need to set the example here, and we need to collaborate with as many individuals on campus as possible to help that marketing.
Moving on to the next question. What will you change and keep from the current executive board? And we'll start with you, Unity.
So I think the number one thing that I want to start off with is Yap Lugo has done a phenomenal job at bringing this university back after the year 2020 and suffering through a pandemic and a lot of students being taken out of the usual campus engagement that we saw, right? I am a sitting junior right now, and I got 1 normal semester. That was it, right? And that's the same thing that Abe and Karen had when they decided to run. But at the end of the day, we want to expand on that. Right? This office is not just about, coming in and changing things from the bottom up. No, it's about expanding on the foundation that has been set. And Yap Lugo, they did a phenomenal job at bringing campus engagement back, but now we want to change the overall culture. The culture of, this separation between students and CSUN, and instead integrate that through collaboration, integrate that through reaching out to department chairs, through increasing the civic engagement that CSUN is involved with, and at the same time, strengthen the RSOs in a way that hasn't been possible by opening up doors with community leaders and community businesses here in town. And that starts with networking and opening up those conversations to begin with.
I would say not necessarily reinvent the wheel, because people before us already had things established. I would say, as the director of elections operation, I had a lot of experience running different departments, and one of the things that I do want to change is that overall disconnect with students. We were talking a while back, and we were saying departments really plan events, but they really never reach out to students. What do students want? And that's really starting with receiving student feedback and integrating that within our own plans as a student government. As for what we will keep, lobbying efforts within Nevada is something that is very important. Next Nevada state legislation is next year. And I believe Blanca, who's also sitting in this audience, has done an amazing job. And continuing that work with undocumented and DACA students at the state level is something that we can do, not using or creating new relationships, but using ones that are already established.
And I'll start this question with starting line. Sorry, I'm looking at Unity, talking about starting line. So if you were to be elected, what kind of first project would you take on in the fall?
I'm really excited for this question because actually one of the first things we really want to work on and kind of been getting started on already, there's not really a name for it, I guess. I can kind of explain it. So I was on TikTok a few months back, and I saw this video of this individual who she is currently living in a long-term facility for people who don't have housing. And she was talking about how every other Wednesday she goes down to the church down the street and she gets a hot meal. And when you are suffering from homelessness, you don't have that access to hot food. So I started talking with Zach and Ray, and we were saying, why can't UNLV do something like that? We're a community staple, and that's something I think we are required to do. We're obligated to help our community because they help us and help our students as student government, of course. So with that, we wanted to see if we can partner with the food and beverage major within the hospitality center, because they're the experts, and see if we can start facilitating once a week having hot food on campus. This wouldn't just be for anybody who needs it, but also for students who there's been times I'm like, my paycheck is not hitting until Friday, I can't go to Panda Express right now. And so you just go ahead and go there. Or like somebody who just maybe is low on, just can't focus on that right now. It gives them easy, accessible food, and we have a few different options. We could do that through a sponsorship. We could do that through like maybe a line item budget, or we could also just do it through like a one-time sponsorship and see if it works good this year, and then if it does, we can continue it on. But that's something we would hit the ground running on, as well as Zach has already been working with Tara Pike, who works with the Sustainability Council, to do a climate change action plan for UNLV that a lot of other universities have already adapted and met goals with. So those are already projects that we've begun starting on and would love to hit the ground running on if elected.
The first thing that we will do is we will work effortlessly to destigmatize mental health. Everyone in this room, we all survived a pandemic. Some may say that it is still going on, but at the same time, I think we need to understand what did happen during that pandemic. A lot of individuals isolated themselves. A lot of individuals returning back in person on school, specifically. It was a very traumatic experience because I do think a lot of people forgot how to socialize. A lot of people forgot how to release their emotions in the most proper way possible. One reason why our Senate presidential candidate isn't here today is due to personal circumstances revolving around his mental health. The campaign has put an enormous stress on all of our mental health. And every single day, I always try and provide a support system for every single student that I do come across. I always ask them how their day is going. How are you feeling? Did you know that there's adequate resources here on campus? The number one thing that we do want to do is expand accessibility to them. We want shorter time periods as to when you can actually schedule an appointment, but we also want to partner up with the med school here at UNLV, and we want to provide some foundation to where we can implement an animal support animal office on campus to where the med school can work with the students and collect data to see how efficient the program could be. But it's just expanding the resources as a whole regarding mental health, any psychological services, any counseling. That is our priority.
Yeah.
Okay, I won't say this is a rebuttal, but it's more of a commentary on what they said, because I do agree with the sentiments that mental health and destigmatizing it are super important. One thing here on campus that I think is underlooked is the fact that we have such a wide variety of students. And it's not just diversity racially or ethnically, but it's also diversity between age, backgrounds, all of those sorts of things that I think are equally important to recognize. And I think one thing that we certainly want to do with our campaign is really focus on not only maximizing the efficiency of the budget, which means listening to students, and we had some students say that they really would like some summer scholarships, so that would be something we'd want to integrate into our budget as well, but also just maximizing the efficiency of CSUN in general and providing opportunities for students, especially
15 seconds.
in marginalized communities that might not have access, don't know what CSUN is, don't have time to participate in CSUN because they go to school and they have a job, and we really want to do as much outreach as possible to those communities.
So the next question, this is for both of you. Your campaigns are very similar, right? You guys probably stand for the same things, just maybe starting differently, right? So what really is setting you guys apart? So we'll start with you, Unity.
Yeah, so what I would say really separates our ticket, Unity, to Starting Line is our effort. I quit my job to do this. I worked in the medical field during the pandemic. It was a very, very tense environment to work in. And once I was provided the opportunity, and I did see that there was an option to file to run for student leader positions, I decided in my head the tense environment that I'm experiencing in the work field. It's the same environment that we have here on campus. And just because of that, we want to talk to as many students as possible. This is not something that we will let up on if elected. We were going to continuously talk to students on a daily basis, on a weekly basis. We want to have advisory meetings with leaders from RSOs. We want to talk to as many faculty and staff here on campus in order to be as inclusive as possible. In my opinion, I think CSUN, for certain periods in time, has been very non-inclusive in the way that they conduct themselves, the initiatives that they work on. Senators, in my opinion, should be sending out surveys or getting feedback from their constituents to see how they should vote on certain initiatives. They should be able to reach out to their constituents to see what is the main concern within their respective college. There's a lot of culture within CSUN now that we do want to change, and I do just want to clarify that we don't want to start from the ground up. We want to fix some of the leaks in the boat. We want to change
30 seconds.
We want to be able to set the example at the executive level to trickle down to the Senate, which trickles out to the entire student body.
Alrighty. So I think that's a really good question, and I do want to say that I think all campaigns tickets that were involved were super instrumental in their part of trying to listen to students, give different feedback, and we've been really appreciative to like run with y'all and run with previous tickets as well. I think that what sets a Starting Line apart is that we have experience. We know what works and we know what doesn't. And at the same time, we also are not so stuck in our experience that we may not like have tunnel vision, get stuck in tunnel vision. Currently, right now, Zach serves as the chair of the University Initiatives Committee, and one of our most recent initiatives actually is putting an iPad in the student union to give quick, simple feedback for students, as well as a lot of other senators have done a really wonderful job. I want to give a shout out to former Senator Rachel Kim and current sitting Senator Kevin Leon Martinez for doing an amazing job in sending out a survey a few months back talking about female menstruation products and how the accessibility to them and anything like that students could voice their concerns on. I think that expanding on what we already have and starting new efforts, because we're not starting with a, you know, when I first got appointed back in August, I started with a fresh slate. Same when Zach and Ray were interns, they had to learn, and that's normal. And we're still learning, and we're never going to be able to know everything. But we have a good amount of knowledge and foundation to start on to be able to right away get started on these projects that we want and that more importantly the students want, because it's one and the same. We are the students, they are us, and we all stand for the same things, and making sure we're listening to everybody as much as possible and right away enacting what we can. And some of those things will take time as well, but I just am confident in our ticket to be as efficient as possible.
So I just want to say that as an engineering major, I am in Lee Business School, meaning I have senators from Lee Business School represent me, but I'm also a political science major, meaning I do also have College of Liberal Arts senators that do represent me, and they are actually sitting on the other table. 2 of them are. And I will say, depending on how much they are inclusive, I would have to disagree with that. I have never, not one time, have heard any kind of question being asked from my COLA senators about anything that is going on within CSUN. I've never been asked in regards to our platform. I've never been asked anything around what CSUN does do and how we can, as constituents, help out our senators. Senators are supposed to represent us.
15 seconds.
But in my opinion, as a COLA student, I don't feel represented by my COLA senators. That's what I would have to say.
May I? Thank you. Okay, yeah, I do want to address that. Thank you for bringing that up. I will say that actually with the new Senate President, or current Senate President Pena, she's made it a mission that every senator must send out at least one college-specific email to students. We sent out one previously that was written in conjunction with all the COLA senators about doing an advisory nomination for the CSUN award. Actually, the Poli-Sci Club, which I believe you both are a part of, Dr. Phelps actually was the nomination for that award and was the one who received it. Additionally, actually just last month, we sent out a email highlighting all the scholarships that are currently being enacted and currently in place right now for students. However, there's always room to be improved on, and there's always more things we can do, and maybe emails won't be the best way, and we can find different ways, like through the iPad or just through talking to department heads, just like that. So I think that's a good concern.
Okay. We're going to go with starting line. Nathan Valencia was a junior at UNLV who died from Kappa Sigma's fraternity fight night. President Keith Whitfield acknowledged his death, but CSUN did not comment on his passing. How will you acknowledge similar events like this?
So CSUN somewhat did acknowledge the passing of Nathan Valencia. I, with the current director, her name is Alexis Marin, we drafted a resolution for a memorial bench. It is in conjunction, and we're working with the construction team here at UNLV. But again, with being within CSUN, we do acknowledge that the different departments within at UNLV don't just do things at a snap. Knowing that, of course, we still are communicating with the family, letting them know updates. But realistically, we, as the CSUN, did recognize it through a memorial bench. So that's what I have.
The question really does touch my heart because I went to high school with Nathan. I was in his small little friend group in high school, and Nathan was an outstanding person, everything about him, the kindness that he had towards everyone. It really spread out to everyone that he surrounded himself with. Now, coming into college, I wasn't really close with him. We kind of went in our different paths, but just in general, when I seen that event happened, I myself was disappointed in the fact that precautionary measures weren't taken, that student government didn't oversee any of these events in which they should have, and if there was anything that the fraternity couldn't handle or they couldn't be able to have certain individuals that could enact these precautionary measures, this is something that student government should be able to step in and be able to provide assistance in. So if they needed any kind of medical personnel there, they should have been the first ones to come to student government, and student government should have been able to reach out to our med school and have students participate in that. But just in general, CSUN needs to highlight events on campus and with every single student's successes, failures, and any tragedies. Because we represent students here at UNLV. Just because one thing happens does not mean that we should sweep it under the rug. And I want everyone to remember Nathan Valencia's name.
30 seconds.
That's what I have to say.
The next question, well, set of questions. So mainly, I looked at you guys' Instagram pages and campaigns and maybe saw what I thought was more concerning. So we'll start with Unity. So Unity, at the start of the campaign, you guys signed a pledge for a clean campaign. Recently, your Senate President candidate, Jesse Welsh, needed to apologize for an outburst in a Senate meeting. So the main question here is, how will you ensure your ticket is emotionally ready and, won't, for lack of better words, not show their emotions with student leadership?
So another great question, and it's valid. It's valid to ask that. I'm always going to circle back on the fact that mental health is one of those things that we need to prioritize. And yes, Jesse did make a comment that we do not agree with. We are ones to tell you directly that we will hold ourselves accountable in any kind of way. If there is any misstep with any of the individuals on this ticket, we will straightforward tell it like it is, and we will apologize, and we will make sure that that kind of comment isn't made again. And the night that we were made aware of this, we did give a call to Starting Line. We did apologize to them. We did try and talk things through. On Jesse's end, Jesse talked to us on a personal level, and he told us the difficulties that he was having. Jesse is a Navy veteran. He served in the military for 10+ years, and we understand there are a lot of experiences that he's had in his life that really do bring out some emotions. And we understand that, at times there's a time and place for those kind of emotions to be released, and we're always going to make sure we really spread the awareness around with every single student on campus about the time and place. With Jesse specifically, we told him directly to seek out therapy, seek out the resources we have here on campus. And that is the big thing that we wanted to highlight here because, we're prioritizing mental health. There should be no reason to not seek out help when needed. And sometimes we need that reminder that we do need help from external sources, from our friends, from our peers, from our professors, faculty, anyone. If they see that you need help, do speak out about it.
And Starting Line, your campaign on your Instagram, one of your main goals is sustainability, right? What is the realistic goal here, and how could you possibly implement sustainability on campus, and is it worth focusing?
That's a fantastic question, and I'm very glad you asked it. So if you don't mind, I'm going to stand up, because the first thing, it starts small. Thrifted, 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 thrifted. And I'm not going to say thrifting is everything, because I don't think it is. But I think that actions do start small. And I think if we incentivize students to really take action on the small level, on the grassroots level, to really change their individual actions here on campus, that not only expands outward to the community, to Las Vegas as a whole, to Nevada, to the United States, but also incentivizes future leaders in our community that not only pride themselves on making sustainable and thoughtful choices, but also making choices that are in the best interest of our environment. Now, I think that that is a sentiment held by a lot of people, that why really bother with sustainability? Can we really make much change? And I do think that a lot of sustainable measures need to come from corporations and from the federal government. But I think here at UNLV, there is definitely opportunity for CSUN to push higher administration into making a more sustainable campus. So we have Top Tier 2.0. It's our renovation plan here on campus. And I think that if we really integrate sustainable measures into that plan, we can make our campus a better spot. Right now, University Initiatives, we just got our planning and construction plan approved to install all new urinals in the SU at 1/8 of a gallon instead of 1 gallon. And that's going to save hundreds of thousands of gallons of water over the next couple of years. And in a drought, that's something that's really important. And that does make a difference. That's a large amount of water every day. But I think that there certainly is a concern that sustainability is not only a big problem, but that it's hard to access individuals and really convince them that sustainability is really big. So I think ultimately where it starts is at the individual level. And if we can do as much as possible to really convince administration that sustainability is really important here, we'll be making a better environment and future for not only the students here, but also the United States as a whole.
Okay. Starting Line, where do you feel CSUN fails? and could use improvement? And what steps do you plan to take in order to address this and form a solution?
I think CSUN fails at really engaging students, and I think really receiving student feedback. And I say this because I think the executive departments could do a lot more to reach out to students. As I mentioned prior, but not only reach out to students, but integrate that in conjunction with the Senate. There's always been this disconnect with the Senate and the executive branch. And I think if there's a collaborative relationship, we can do a lot for students. But I also think that it is taking that initiative. And I think us as a ticket recognize that this is somewhere that needs improvement, and how can we reach out to students, not only reach out to them, incorporate their voices, and be the megaphone for them.
I first want to just say thank you to Karen for inviting both me and Zach to the subcommittee of communications meeting. During that meeting, it was stated that classes are going to be moved more online next semester, which was kind of concerning to hear. And we agree with our opponent's concerns regarding CSUN, and engagement is something that is lacking on campus. And a lot of us like to attribute the fact that we're a commuter school, and 60% of students are commuter students, and they just have to be home or they have to be at work, and that's completely understandable. But I still think we need to understand that CSUN carries a very large responsibility, and some of that responsibility needs to be diluted, and we need to reach out to other organizations on campus, such as Rebel Events Board, such as the radio, such as Scarlet and Gray Free Press, to be able to market events that are happening on campus. But we also want to, and we haven't released our budget just yet, and it's going to be released very, very soon, but we actually want to sponsor Rebel Events Board to host events on campus. We've seen how big of a success the Foodie Fest was here on campus, and this is no shade thrown at Karen at all. Party and Pida Plazas are outstanding, but the turnout is just not what we would expect to see, especially comparing it to Foodie Fest. And just understanding how much Rebel Events Board markets their events,
30
and
seconds.
how many people see those posts, there is no reason why we should deny that. There is no reason why we should ignore it. We need to empower Rebel Events Boards. We need to empower a bunch of other organizations on campus as well, and dilute those responsibilities to those organizations, but we also need to walk them through the process as well.
And I'll direct this question to Diana. Your ticket says that you want to promote, for example, Rebel Board events. So how will you be doing that?
I am going to ask you, I'm so sorry, again, my voice kind of got lost. I'm going to ask you to repeat the question one more time.
Yeah, so how will you promote these kind of like the Rebel Board events? How will you promote kind of, because Isaac said that you want to promote more outside events, more other organizations. So how will you be doing that?
So it's going to be more of a collaboration. That's the plan, right? CSUN, we feel, has kind of been separated from the overall student body. And what we saw in Rebel Events Board, especially with Foodie Fest and me since freshman year, has been that they have marketed their events very successfully. And it's not going to be more so a CSUN taking the lead role, but more so working together, right? Working together with Rebel Events Board, the same way this debate turnout came out, right? This was a collaboration by not just CSUN, but Scarlet and Gray Free Press and University Speaks. And this is what we want to promote all among campus and what we want to promote for the future of CSUN. Because overall, once we get these networks coming in, you know, we're going to be able to expand our student engagement to those networks and to those connections. Because CSUN, yeah, we have a good following, but at the same time, a lot of the times, we are not going to have the same networks that Rebel Events Board or other organizations on campus will have. Just to give a an example. I am the vice president of the Political Science Club, and we are going to be hosting Dana Titus on April 20th, right? And one of the things that we have done is reach out to other organizations on campus and reach out to the departments overall to help market this event. And that, I think, takes a really good summarization as to how we want to move forward with CSUN overall. It's not just taking the lead, but it's working in collaboration.
A question directed to Ray. Ray, could you tell me more about Turbo Vote? Is that correct?
Yes. So Turbo Vote is a program that is found, well, we recently did more research on this. It's actually a program here on campus with the Student Life Department, but we wanted to fund it slightly more and bring awareness more to students. And essentially what Turbo Vote is an app that essentially let students know of their local elections as well as the state elections so that they get more involved with voting. And that's important as students because it is, at the end of the day, voting on our representatives who are going to create bills that impact students is something that is influential on all of us. So selecting state representatives that are in the best interest of students is what's important. And if we can let students know through apps that engage them through the local elections as well as state elections, then I think that's something that CSUN as a government should do for students.
Okay. And next question, if I was a freshman joining UNLV and I wanted to join CSUN and you had 2 minutes to pitch why I should join, what would you say? Unity can start.
I'm going to say this right now. So I actually interned under Joshua Padilla when he was president. And one of the first things that he said, and also the very first, my orientation leader was Olivia Checky. And when she pitched it to me, she got some of the best friendships that she had ever gotten through CSUN. And I think that one of the things that CSUN really does is it opens up the doors to networks, right? Because it was through CSUN that I was able to learn about the Political Science Club that I'm now the vice president for. It was through CSUN that I was able to meet some of my closest friends, but not because they were in CSUN, but because I was able to meet them through my involvement in CSUN. I started out as an intern my freshman year, and I went on to be a senator, and that experience overall has taken its own wings, right? Because it opens up the doors for you to get involved with students, but other organizations around campus. It opens up the doors for you to be able to expand your network and make an impact on the students and meet some of your best friends through that engagement. Not because they're part of CSUN, but because it opens up the door for you to go out and actually talk to them.
Okay, so to the intern, hypothetically. I think that you should join CSUN because not only one, is it a great engagement opportunity, it's, I would say, above and beyond what a normal RSO might provide you because it connects all these different RSOs together and it provides that framework for you to really engage with the community, engage with a bunch of different RSOs that maybe you wouldn't know about anyway. But on top of that, if you started out as an intern or you were appointed as a senator, it not only gives you the opportunity to change campus in the way that you really think needs to be changed, but to really listen to students. And if you hear a concern, if you hear someone say, man, these water refill stations in Tonopah are not being fixed, how do we fix that? Then you get a position right there, a platform to say, hey, this is a problem. And the solution's right here. We can push for it. We can change it. We can provide money. We can push administration and make those changes. As an intern, or even as a prospective senator, I think that you would have the best opportunity to not only develop yourself, to develop the community, but also to develop, what I will also agree with on this side, is develop lifelong relationships and friendships with people that I think otherwise you would never have gotten. And I think that in general, if you join CSUN, not only does it set you up beyond politics, because I think CSUN is apolitical, it's something that is for students, it's advocacy, it's communication, it's not partisan, it's not political, but CSUN really develops you as a future leader regardless of your political background or your affiliation on campus, regardless of your ethnic or racial or even your age. All of those things disappear when you're in CSUN because you can really represent your interests, you can represent the students that you're around, you can represent the problems on campus, and you can really bring a change that otherwise there are a lot of barriers to doing if you weren't in CSUN.
For the last scripted question, and just a note, starting line, you've taken up 2 rebuttals, so you have 2 remaining. Unity, you have 3 remaining rebuttals. For this question, why should you be chosen over the other candidate? And we'll start with, who did we start with? We'll start with Unity.
No, we started with
Oh, starting line then.
For all of us, or?
Just one person, so right?
Just one person, yeah. But you have 3 rebuttals. Well, you have 2 rebuttals. They have 3 rebuttals, so win us over.
Okay, for sure. So I think that, I'm extremely confident in our ticket. I know our experience, I know what we can do and what we set out to do from the beginning. We all showed up here today and we're ready to go and do what we can and what we wanted to do from the beginning. Like I said at the beginning of this, I was a little flustered, so I was stuttering a little bit, but we really were all super nervous to run. You know, there's a lot of things that we were scared we couldn't hold promises on, or ideas that we were scared that maybe weren't possible, but we did our research. We talked and talked between the 3 of us and to other people, people inside of CSUN and outside of CSUN, to really get that, to make sure that we're doing it from the bottom of our hearts and we're being authentic. I know that if we are in office, we can really do what's best for students in capacities like parking vouchers and textbook vouchers, in capacities like having a podcast where RSO students can talk about their platform of what their RSO is doing. We can do it in little ways like helping the senators who really want to hold a mixer and help them and encourage them with their budget and their abilities, and also even bigger than that, and talking to the Board of Regents, NSHE, and getting other students who are not involved in CSUN involved in the Board of Regents. The 3 of us are ready, experienced, have ideas, and we're ready to go. I mean, the 3 of us, you know, we have great chemistry, and we all like complement each other, I think, very well. And that's because we talk to students, we got different ideas, and we're all different in our own ways, and that's what complements each other. So more than anything, I know that, you know, starting line is the right choice, and I really hope that y'all are confident in that too.
Honestly, with this question, you know, I'm going to be completely honest. Making this decision was very hard to run because we're putting ourselves in the public eye and we're putting ourselves up front to not just, you know, having these conversations that might be uncomfortable for us, but at the same time, I think for us, it was what made it so much more fulfilling. When people come up to me and ask me, why did you decide to run? I say exactly that. This has been the most fulfilling process that I have ever had throughout my experience at UNLV, throughout my entire 3 years. As former members of CSUN, we do have firsthand experience to kind of the non-inclusive culture that CSUN currently holds, and that disconnect with students. And really what we want to do is, and even those in CSUN can kind of attest to that culture. It's very cliquey. And what we want to do is we want to shake things up, right? Neither of us hold current positions. I haven't held a position since 2020, and neither has Isaac, mostly because I had to work 2 jobs through the pandemic. And through that, I think that we are able to kind of give that fresh voice, and at the same time, because we have been since the very first day on the ground, talking to RSOs, talking to our friends, talking to every single person that we came across, not just about this election, but what they want to happen, what they want to do, I think that that's really what makes us the right choice, right? Nothing happens in your comfort zone, and nothing great happens in your comfort zone. And I think Isaac and I really took ourselves out of our comfort zone and threw ourselves into this process and into this journey because of how much we care about these students. He quit his job. I'm telling you right now, this has taken a big toll on my sleeping schedule. But I do this because of the students and because of how many people I have seen drop out of school because of the resources that they didn't have.
Rebuttals?
that the last question?
Yes and no. Scripted, yes. If there's more time, we have some student submissions. But your rebuttals would.
How much more time do we have, though?
You have about 5 minutes. But you have 3 rebuttals, so that gives you 3 minutes to just talk. And then starting line has 2, so a total of 2 minutes.
Yeah, so I definitely want to acknowledge the sentiments that CSUN can be perceived as clique-like. I think that of any people in CSUN, I think that Nadia and myself have gone out of our way to make the decision that's best for us, and that's best for the students that we try to represent, and that's best in our consciousness. And I think that ultimately, we are not afraid to first say no and put ourselves in a situation which may, I would say, expose us to some harsh criticisms, but also I think that all 3 of us are really willing to accept where we failed. I think that not only was, I think the showing of the primary election a pretty poor result and ultimately a lack of, I would say, all the tickets in general, not accessing as many students as possible.
15
but I think that ultimately, I think that there's a huge role for CSUN in general to really play in acknowledging that each student is different. And I think ultimately, one of the big things that we really want to do is push for departments to be as engaging as every community on campus as possible.
Your time has expired. Unity?
Actually, real quick before time starts, can we take all those 3 minutes at this,
You
this
go
time?
ahead. It's your rebuttals.
Okay, because I'm known to go on rants at times, and they always have to kind of cut me short. But in my head, it always comes down to collaboration. CSUN possesses a wide variety of responsibilities, duties, and privilege. And in my mind, kind of understanding the marketing hour situation for senators, it's a very gray area. And at sometimes there are moments where certain senators don't complete their marketing hours. And in our opinion, the best way to really bridge the gap between CSUN and any RSOs on campus or students in general, we want to actually include in the marketing hours that senators are required to attend RSO events. They are going to get the most fulfilling experience. They're going to get as much out of even attending an event that they've never, ever seen themselves ever wanting to attend before their position in CSUN. We want to have senators talk to as many students as possible. And at times, it can be very frustrating to see senators hanging out in the CSUN offices, in the Senate chambers, rather than in the library talking to students, or in the engineering building, or in the hospitality building. We want senators, we want everyone in CSUN, executive board, judicial council, and the legislative branch, and interns. We want them to be as involved on campus as possible. And I think those students were at one point involved on campus to the fullest extent, but I think we forget sometimes. And those in CSUN do forget that they are students, and you have to relate to students. And sometimes there are moments where certain senators might be a bit closed-minded in their approaches and some of the resolutions that are proposed. But that is no excuse to not get involved on campus. I think the affiliated organizations that we're in, phenomenal. But outside of that, we need to expand the experiences that we're facing, the events that we're going to, the environments that we place ourselves in, because that just creates a better perspective. And in all honesty, in order to have a student body unite, there's going to be differing opinions. But how are you supposed to kind of find common ground if you're never putting yourself in that position to understand what the opposing side or the opposing opinion is like? Or if you just have a disagreement with someone, that is no reason to kind of close yourself off and never talk to them ever again. You have to sort those problems out, and we have to unite as a student body in order to continue to spread that out at the state level and at the federal level. We are very, very, very polarized at the moment, and that is one of those things that political scientists, economists like to argue back and forth about polarization, but it's to be seen here on campus. We have it on campus, and the biggest thing we want to do is unite the student body, and it's through unity.
Starting line, you have one more rebuttal if you want to use it.
Is this still like the end?
Yeah.
This is it.
If you want to end mic moment.
Sure. Okay. I'll say one last thing, and just in relation to what candidate Isaac brought up about the resolution, about a prospective resolution. I think that a lot of students understand what happened recently within CSUN. That was their first experience within CSUN. It's just a certain resolution that was brought up, and it was very highly discussed, and eventually it did fail through the Senate. A lot of different opinions arose through there in a lot of different communities. I think that when we talk about being in the public eye as a candidate, I myself, I'm Muslim, I'm Palestinian, and this is in relation to the resolution speaking about peoples who face genocide. Obviously, I myself, I can't speak for a population that wide, that diverse. I don't wear hijab, so I can't speak for those students, and I will never try to. What our ticket will always aim to do, and I can promise you that, we're never gonna speak over. We're never gonna talk over. We're gonna make sure that we listen first, give you our hand so we could try to help you out in whatever way we can. Budget-wise, resolution-wise, bill-wise, and I wanna make that promise right now.
Thank you guys so much for participating in this first debate. And Ryan, take it away.
I'm back. Alrighty, well, great job, everyone. Let's give a big round of applause to all the candidates and the moderators and UNLV-TV. Oh, and sure. Well, since Rebel Events Board was mentioned, we're having events coming up. So, if you want to follow Reb UNLV, we're having an event every week until the end of the semester. Rebels After Dark next week. UNLV's Got Talent next week, and then we're ending it with Late Night Breakfast. So stay tuned for all those events, and if anyone wants to join the executive board, we have applications out. Okay, that's my plug. Now that the debate is over, the next part is the voting. So make sure, don't have all this go to waste. Go out, encourage everyone to vote. It opens up Wednesday at 9 a.m. It goes all the way till Thursday at 5 p.m. You can vote online at the Involvement Center, which you'll log in with your ACE account. If you don't know that at this point, make sure to get that information. You can also vote in person on the first floor of the student union. So those are the two locations to vote. And great job, everyone. So thank you to everyone, and have a great day. Bye-bye.